I wanted. All right. Of course, it screwed up. Hold on one second. I wanted. All right. Of course, it screwed up. Hold on one. All right. You ready? Let's do this. All right. Dirty Sports episode 850 live on YouTube in 5, 4, 3. Welcome to the Dirty Sports podcast. I am your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Southern California, Joey No Chill Prano.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning.
How's it going over there? How's it going over there in Cincinnati, Ohio?
It's good, man. It's good. I'm excited for today's show.
That's great. I'm excited for today's show as well.
I was doing a little homework, so to speak, last night. I have found
a waltz through the archives.
Oh yeah, a little waltz through the archives. I have found some Andy Ruther, Kobe Bryant defender clips, and they are cringe.
You know what? I got to say, props to you on multiple fronts here. One, for taking the time to do that. Two, for, Andy Ruther has always not been afraid to publicize his own failures. And, there's not a lot of people who are like that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure Joe Prano is capable of that. I guess if I ever made a wrong take on this show, I'd have to come to grips with that decision. But I'm not sure if I ever do that I would be able to revisit it and be wrong.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. And secondly, as much as I don't want to give you any more credit, because we can all see how humble you are, what was very resounding for me was that the same points that are being made in 2022, you were making in these clips are from 2014.
Well, that's the thing, and I'll say this about basketball specifically. It's hard. Like, players change over sport. Our podcast is sort of the king of, quarterback hot takes. And, you can watch baseball players, football players, running backs, receivers, outfielders, pitchers, whatever, develop over the course of their career. But when it comes to basketball, I got to, I will toot my own horn a little bit, is like, I can see pretty early on. I don't watch a ton of college basketball, but also in college basketball, you can be that guy. You can be Carmelo Anthony and be like, I am a player that, can score and will be able to do that at every single level. I'm the best player on this team. I've got a good coach, whatever. Like, you can be successful in college basketball by having a skill set that is just better than everybody else's on the floor. I'm pretty good when it comes to the NBA to being like, listen, your game, this is your game. And unless you change it, this is what you are. And Kobe Bryant was a guy, he's probably the prototypical guy who came into the league, volume scorer, hates passing, never changed. People fucking love it. The propaganda machine works in all the ways. Also, people just love seeing guys score the basketball. But the bottom line is, truly, if you want to win, if you want to, be in my opinion, like the greatest of the greats, the game is more than one aspect. And I just always, from the day I started playing basketball till today, I just hate selfish basketball players, and those guys drive me bananas. And I can see it in their eyes. I can see it in their game.
Well, for me, going back and listening to these episodes, and I mean, we're talking early Dirty Sports days. These are clips that I'm pulling from episodes like 49, 50, and 51. So we're about 7 months into the show. This is early November 2014. So almost 8 years ago. I think what's obvious for myself is that I wasn't watching the game closely enough, but also again, it was like I had been brainwashed, for lack of a better term. And then I think a lot of all those emotions, right? Like I said, I moved to LA. That was right before when I moved to LA, actually, was when Kobe was demanding the trade to the Bulls, which a lot of people forget. The Bulls were kind of the top choice. Kobe didn't make the playoffs his first year after Shaq left, made it 2 years in a row after that as an 8 seed, never won a playoff series. So he wanted to get out. And that's kind of around the time I moved here. And then by the second,
but he wanted to get out, but Kobe's the ultimate, like he would never leave the Lakers. He was Mr. Like that's the problem. That's the problem with today's NBA is that guys don't win and then they demand to go somewhere else. I thought Kobe's the face of not doing that. Kobe's the guy who stuck with his team.
He tried to, and obviously
there is theory and it could be right. Absolutely. That was to force the Lakers to make a move. But the bottom line is,
and then they get Pau Gasol and everything changes.
Yeah, it's exactly what every guy did is this situation needs to be better, fix it or trade me.
Yeah. And then we all know what happens. They get Pau Gasol, they make it to 3 straight finals, they win 2 of them, and kind of the rest is history. But I do want to play some of these clips. I even found me saying clutch. I mean, it is so cringe. It's going to be funny. I think the DirtBall is going to appreciate that.
And that's another thing. That's another thing that historically, especially in the NBA, we like that's a label that gets put on guys or taken off guys. And it's like, there's absolutely no rhyme or reason for it, especially guys like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. It's like,
Jordan was always usually pretty clutch.
Yeah. But what it comes down to is if you're the guy who's absolutely the only one who will take a shot late in games for your team, you're going to make a lot of them. You're going to probably miss more of them than you make, but you're going to make a lot of them. And then it becomes the same thing. People love volume. So they go, Kobe's clutch. He's hit this many quote unquote game winners. Jordan's made this many quote unquote game winners. And it's like in those situations, they're shooting like Kobe's shooting like 30% and Michael Jordan's shooting like 42%. And LeBron James is shooting like 53% or something like that. And LeBron's just not doing it all the time because he's also a make the right basketball play guy. So then it becomes Michael Jordan has hit this many. Kobe Bryant has hit this many. It's like, but clutch would be, a
higher percentage.
Right. And clutch would be like those Robert Horry, those Chauncey Billups, those kind of guys who's like, man, they were not the guy to be put in that situation all the time, but yet they always seem to be the one that was making that shot. They're like especially clutch.
Sure.
Being the guy who gets to take the clutch shot all the time doesn't necessarily mean you're clutch.
Yeah. So this trip down memory lane is pretty funny because you straight up don't want to talk the beginning of one episode. I guess what happened was, I don't remember this. What happened was you and I get in a huge Kobe discussion on episode 50.
Okay.
Which
love these trips down memory lane.
Which then continues via text.
Okay.
Where great. I guess
Steve, let's go, baby.
I don't have the text messages, sadly, but I guess what happened was you and I texted back and forth over a weekend for like 90 straight minutes at one point about Kobe. And you straight up said, I'm not speaking to start the next episode until you say Kobe is not clutch. After you had presented me statistical evidence, which showed at that time, Kobe was 31% on the final possession.
Right.
Which by definition is obviously not clutch. And you see, I don't want to give up my side. You can see in the argument. Anyway, let me just play some of these clips because again, the DirtBalls have requested them. I actually really enjoyed finding these, to be honest, because it does show how much I've changed. This one is from episode 50, again, early November 2014. So it's the 2014-2015 season. And for some quick context, this is a season that the Lakers went 21 and
this is what year? 2014?
2014-2015 season. The Lakers went 21-61. They lost their first 5 games to start the year. They started 1-9. Kobe only played 35 games because he was hurt. So they were just terrible. But anyway,
is this the year that he gets hurt in the middle of the year? This is the year he tears his Achilles?
I believe so. All right. So this is, again, episode 50. This is a discussion of Kobe being clutch and Pau Gasol.
Yeah, but
he wasn't the best player on any of those 5 championships.
No, Jesus, Joe,
somebody.
You're opening a whole other discussion. That's just not true.
It is true.
To say he was not the best player when they won the back-to-back in 2009 and 2010.
The best all-around
Do
player
not
on
tell
those
me
teams
Pau
was
Gasol. Do not tell me it's Pau Gasol.
It's a fact.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
If you,
Dude, Kobe,
I realize you don't know anything about basketball, but going 12,
wow,
but going 12 for 14 for 25 points, grabbing rebounds and passing out of the post in the triangle and playing defense isn't a better player to you than a guy who's not doing anything but taking 35 shots and scoring 40 points, then you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
That's just, you're the only one who would say that. You're the only one who would say Kobe's better than Pau. Kobe won the MVP the year they lost to the Celtics. He didn't just win the MVP. Dude, Kobe put that team on his back essentially that whole season.
What happened when Pau wasn't on that team? The only difference between a team that won 40 games and a team that won the NBA Finals is they traded for Pau Gasol. That is the one difference on the team.
First of all, Pau Gasol was really good, and he was playing great. I'm not denying that.
I'm just saying that.
I'm going to pause it for a quick second. I am stumbling so hard. It's so funny. I am just trying to – I'm like stuck in a maze, and I'm trying to find my way out. And it's not pretty when you look at it from that point that they win 40 games. Wait until you hear what I say next, where I'm like defending this – Lamar Odom, he couldn't find his way. It's a sad day. It's just a sad, it's just a sad day for me right here.
He also fits so good in that system. You know he did.
Yeah, exactly.
He fit perfectly in the triangle.
That is my point. The whole thing.
But dude, he's still fucking clutch. I mean, come on.
Oh,
first of all,
first of all, you can't compare him ever to Carmelo Anthony, dude.
Pull up Kobe Bryant fucking game-winning stats, game-winning shots, all that clutch nonsense you just talked about. The worst in NBA history to have taken a certain number of shots. On game-winning or game-tying shots, he's shooting like 23%.
Hold on, silence. You know, do you notice?
Is Andy's mic on?
I just go silent. All right, let's see how I finish off this last minute.
I will never say that Kobe was not better than Pau Gasol.
All around, every aspect of the game, Pau Gasol.
If Kobe wanted to, he
could defend, he could rebound, he could make more than 40% of his shots. Well, then maybe he should because he's getting.
But he does because even before he was getting injured. Remember last year for a while he was having all the assists because he can turn into the playmaker like that, and he was a great defender. You know that.
I'm saying. Locking down. If you look at those teams, like when you're talking about a team, they played the Celtics in the NBA Finals. Paul Pierce was going up. That was like Paul Pierce and Kobe are going on in the backcourt. Pau Gasol and Garnett, all those people are going out of the front court. Pau Gasol is fucking dominating on both ends of the floor, whereas Kobe's like, Paul Pierce will get his 30, I'll get my 30, whatever.
He wasn't dominating. We'd have to go back and look at those stats. I don't want to get into that, to be honest, because we haven't even talked NFL yet.
Oh, look at me. Look at me.
Wow. Like fucking Fran Tarkenton or Archie Manning and just scrambling. Just shoulder turned away from the line, ducking an outside linebacker with his hands around your neck. We got to switch to the NFL. Gets loose. makes a break for the fucking pylon.
Oh my God.
Just sees the sideline and just gets dive for safety.
I said clutch. I said, I'll never say what is remarkable though on all this is how undervalued and appreciated or underrated in general, just Pau Gasol was.
You don't have to tell me, bro.
But I'm saying like his whole career. I mean, obviously he was
Yeah.
in Memphis and nobody cared, but everybody was like, okay, you're in Memphis and you're the guy. Let's see how you perform in the big city and the bright lights of Los Angeles. And he was just as good.
He was fantastic. Pau Gasol is truly one of the more underrated guys. I mean, listen, there's no doubt about it that the Lakers don't win those championships without Kobe Bryant or a version of Kobe, like
Sure.
It was having the lead scorer, but like bringing in Pau Gasol was honestly maybe the perfect fit, because was he Shaquille O'Neal? No, but Kobe Bryant couldn't coexist with a guy who dominated like Shaquille O'Neal. He needed a guy like Pau Gasol who's going to come in, quietly do all that all-star level work, quietly defend all of those great bigs that were in the Western Conference, pass out of the post, support Kobe, do all the things, and do it quietly so that guys like you at the time, and now people still to this day, pretend like he didn't exist. And it was all Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant needed that. Kobe Bryant needed the big man that people were just going to overlook for being like 25 and 12 and 5 against the best players in the world, day in and day out, quietly doing it. He needed people to be like, this is Kobe's team and only Kobe's team.
Yeah.
Any big man that was worth what Pau Gasol was would demand so much more attention, and Pau didn't. And that's why Kobe and him could coexist.
I mean,
Kobe
it really
got all the accolades.
It really was the perfect mix. You got a guy who's going to come in and give you 16 points, 16 to 18 points a game on average, 10 plus rebounds, 2 blocks, and he's also a quiet European.
Yeah.
It's like it was the perfect fit for Kobe for that team.
But again, people don't realize that the thing about Pau Gasol is just like straight up, like going into those Western Conference playoffs and just being like, we hold our own. It's like Stoudemire and Dirk and Duncan and whoever. It's like we have a fine matchup down there. We're not worried about going into these games and having guys like that. Just KG when he's still on the Timberwolves, KG when he's on the Celtics in those final series. We go into those. We're not worried about just getting absolutely dominated at that position. Pau Gasol is as good or better than those guys in some of those playoff series.
Sure, 100%. So that's me refusing or me saying he's clutch. Let's fast forward.
And by the way, I remember that very, very not that conversation, but I remember very specifically the stat that I bring up, which is like it was X amount of shots. I think it's 20 or something like that. 20 total, like guys who have taken or attempted more than 20 game tying or game winning shots, I think in the playoffs or something like that over the course of their career. Like Kobe Bryant was shooting in the 20%.
Yeah.
So he's making 1 out of 5 of them.
So here's what I'm going to do. That's episode 50, where I'm on record saying clutch right out of the Kobe Bryant propaganda playbook. So we get into that discussion on text message. I'm going to kind of go back and forth between these 2 episodes. Now let's go to the next episode, which is Monday, which would be episode 51, where I am basically.
I love this is carrying over from episode to episode.
Oh yeah. So basically I have to, you don't want to talk until I say Kobe's not clutch. So
yes.
So here's this clip. This is to start the show, episode 51.
I love, my favorite part about this is like showing where you were to where you are now. But also I love this just like classic joke. Like I'm refusing to talk.
Yeah. So let's hear that.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I am Andy Ruther, and we are live from the Sideshow Network studio in Los Angeles, California, along with my co-host, Joey, I'm on strike, Prano. He's not talking, guys. He's on a strike right now. Joe has been butthurt all because of an argument we had last podcast about Kobe Bryant being clutch. Now, I went back and I listened to the podcast and I said Kobe was clutch. And Joe was mad that I said that. But I think the bigger point is this. The point is he was mad that I forced him to say on air that the Giants weren't good. I think this is where all this stems from. So Joe, over the weekend, we went back and forth on text message, said he was not going to talk until I went on air and said that Kobe was not clutch. Now, Joe sent me some stats, and I will have to say on air, if we're going to define clutch as...
Hold on. Can I hop in here? Listen to me doing the Bill Clinton. What the word is. I'm like, well, if we're going to define clutch, I'm trying to break down the definition of clutch. This is so pathetic. It's just a sad, sad state.
As last minute shots or game winning shots, I think were most of the stats, final minute shots. Kobe's at about 31%, which by definition is not clutch. So I will be a man and say by those numbers, that is definitely not clutch. So Joe can win that argument. Would I still want Kobe to take the final shot? Yes. That's what I have to say about that.
I'm on drugs.
I need you to say Kobe Bryant is not clutch.
In the final seconds?
I need you to I was talking, I was putting out, I was making an argument and you interrupted me and said, say the Giants suck.
See, so I'm right. This is what it all boils down to.
I need you now to tell me that Kobe Bryant is not clutch. I sent you a ton of statistics saying Kobe Bryant is not clutch.
What are you Kobe Bryant is not clutch.
Thank you.
What are you defining that as?
Well, I'm defining it as exactly what I sent you. You know, end of the game, a shot to tie or win the game. Kobe's percentage isn't just bad, it's awful.
Wow. There you have it. This is how crazy I am at this point. And by the way, I sound like I'm on coke because I used to talk so much quicker and I'm all like ADD'd out. I said, after knowing that he was 31%, I still openly say I want him to take the final shot.
So that you can lose more than 2/3 of your games.
I needed to be like put in rehab. Like I almost needed like a Kobe Bryant intervention.
Honestly, though, the thing that I think this is important for like basketball. I mean, I know that we still have a small group of people who, whatever the argument is that we've had on the show, and we've gone like, this is not the only thing. It's, you know, LeBron, Jordan, Kobe, especially with basketball, quarterbacks, whatever, the things that we've gone deep on, we still have people who listen to this show who just like will not give up their thing. But this is like, it's almost a testament to like the way the sports media and the way ESPN or whatever, the way that they do use the propaganda to sell tickets, to sell, you know, finals watching, to sell whatever. Like, this is what they do. They pick guys and they're like, this is this, like, look at all these shots he's made. And they go through the whole thing. And that's why propaganda is so dangerous. It's because crazy. It'll literally make you hear the truth and be like, but still no. It's the equivalent of 1 million people have died of COVID and people are like, it's a hoax. Let's go brand it. You know what I mean? It's like, but you have all the statistics. Why are you still doing it? It's because propaganda is crazy and it will convince you to believe things that you're not seeing with your own eyes. And even when presented with facts, you're just still denying it. And it's crazy that it happens. And the truth is, it's like, look how long it took us to get you to where you are today. I mean, this is 7 years ago, 8 years ago,
almost 8 years ago,
almost 8 years. I mean, this has been a process. This has been some Clockwork Orange shit where like we had to pin your eyes open and show you the truth about Kobe for the better part of a decade to just break like ESPN, you know, NBA, Nike propaganda that was fed to you?
Well, I started to change. I started to change way sooner than that. I started to change once I see what LeBron was doing when he came back to Cleveland. And obviously LeBron already had a great resume before that, but I think that's where it really started to change for me. And then I've now gotten into a phase of my life where I like to read a ton about this, both through books and then also online. So when presented all this information, right.
And that's the thing. That's the thing too, that people like don't, that's even more the propaganda. Like what year did Phil Jackson's book come out?
Oh, that's like 2004, the one where he completely destroys Kobe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's after, maybe it's a little later than that. That's after the first 8-year Laker run.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, the information for people is out there.
Sure.
They just refuse to take that information in.
Yeah. So here's a couple more clips. This one is titled.
This is my favorite thing ever, by the way. I like that we started the show that we didn't tease or ever. Let's get right into this.
Well, again, I was up late doing this because I was like, when you get in the mode, I was like, I'm going to find these clips. Let's play this one. This says Kobe without Shaq. I believe we're going back again. This is episode 50.
I mean, your hatred for Kobe.
Also, just look up some of the stats.
Okay, I will. But I'm not the biggest Kobe defender, but I still say what you want about all those titles. My argument is always this: Kobe doesn't win that with those. Shaq and Powell don't win that if they don't have Kobe. It goes vice versa.
Well, that first of all, no, because Shaq immediately left and won a championship with a rookie Dwayne Wade.
He wasn't a rookie.
Or a second-year Dwayne Wade.
And
second-year Dwayne Wade.
Third
year, I think.
Look, you want to talk about stats. Look at Dwayne. Dwayne Wade was the MVP when they beat the Mavs in the 2006 finals. Look how good Dwayne Wade was.
Here's the deal, though. If you have Shaq in the middle,
was like his third year.
There's no doubling the fucking hot shooting guard. There's no doubling Kobe when Shaq is scoring 40 and grabbing 25 boards. There's no doubling him. That's what I'm saying. It's a completely different situation. Shaq left and immediately won. When Shaq left, Kobe immediately won 40 games. That's what happened. And now look again. Now, basically, anytime Kobe didn't have a huge big man, they haven't won a game this year.
Which, again, I fully agree with that statement. Like all this stuff now. I mean, they were. That is a great take to get out there that more people need to know. Kobe was never good without a dominant big man. Now, again, I do still think, you even agree, like you need to win titles. You need more than one guy.
Of course. But the thing is and listen, is Pau Gasol a guy who's ever going to win a title on his own? No, but Pau Gasol, like swap out Pau Gasol and Kevin Garnett on those Celtics Lakers teams. Both of those teams are probably in the finals still. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about great players, of course, teaming up. But like the thing is Kobe Bryant, and this is the Peyton Manning argument, the Michael Jordan, LeBron argument, the Kobe argument, whatever, is like the Tom Brady argument. Again, what happens when a certain guy leaves and a certain guy stays?
Yeah.
But Shaq's there with Kobe Bryant. They're winning championships. Kobe gets the team on his own. He doesn't do shit. He gets an all-star big man. They win championships. All-star big man leaves again. They're crap again. You look at the LeBron James career. LeBron James comes to your team. You're going to the NBA Finals. He leaves your team. You get the number 1 overall pick. LeBron James comes back to your team. You're going back to the NBA Finals. I mean, look at it everywhere he's gone. The Lakers, this whole run of being bad, post in the end of the Kobe Bryant holding the team hostage for his 5-year Achilles fucking, retirement tour. LeBron James comes, they win a championship again. Michael Jordan leaves the team. They win 2 less games. Scottie Pippen gets MVP votes. Tom Brady leaves the team. Matt Castle's winning 10 games and 11 games and just missing the playoffs. Peyton Manning leaves your team. You get Andrew Luck because you win 0 games. Peyton Manning comes back to the Broncos. They immediately go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. It's like you just got to look at the effect that guys come and going on franchises have. Kobe Bryant, like everywhere Shaq went early in his career, Shaq goes to the finals with the Magic. As a kid, Shaq goes to the Lakers. they become dominant. Shaq leaves. He immediately wins the championship with Dwayne Wade. He elevates the Heat. He elevates. Now, Dwayne Wade is a great player, of course. But again, Dwayne Wade, Dwayne Wade wasn't the best player on those championship teams with LeBron. We know that. Dwayne Wade wasn't winning championships or like competing for championships prior to Shaq getting there. Of course, it takes multiple people to do it. But you got to look at like the guys who show up and boom, you're like Pau Gasol shows up, you're immediately a championship team. That's the difference between not being able to get out of the first round and winning a championship is just Pau Gasol. Meanwhile, Pau Gasol's on Memphis teams winning playoff rounds, not going deep, but like winning series.
Did he win a series? I know he made the playoffs.
He's making the playoffs. I think he's won a series in there somewhere.
Yeah.
They're not the 8th seed in Memphis.
So I have one more clip. This one is titled Kobe Legacy. And again, it's either episode 50 or 51.
This is the episode title?
No, this is
this is a topic.
Yeah, I labeled the clips when I pulled them last night and edited them down. So this is I just wrote Kobe Legacy.
But that's the thing. AI took a dog shit Sixers team to the finals by himself.
Yeah, but again, my argument always back is
Kobe lost in the first round of the Suns.
You cannot compare those two. The East versus the West over the last.
Yeah, the East over the West, but Kobe didn't lose to when he lost those games. He wasn't losing to the Spurs in the first. He lost to Mike D'Antoni. Well, a lot of people say Mike D'Antoni and the fucking Suns. What were they? Oh, novelty offense. Oh, 7 seconds left. Who gives a shit? He didn't lose in the Western Conference Finals. He lost in the first round. AI,
dude. But again,
went to the finals.
Look at Kobe's. You know how bad Kobe's roster was. I sent it over.
I know, but
dude, smush.
But how bad was LeBron's roster when he went to the finals?
They weren't that.
You're gonna argue now that Mo Williams is a good player? Or
no, I'm not.
I'm
not. Here's what I'm gonna argue.
Lamar Odom was a great basketball player for a long time,
but he wasn't. Lamar never came into his own. Pau Gasol made everyone better. There's no denying that.
Absolutely.
So when Pau came to the Lakers, he made everyone better. Dude. Here's my thing. LeBron.
Here's the thing. You already admitted Kobe's not clutch, and I don't really know what we're like at this point. What are you arguing? What, like, my thing is Kobe's a great player. He's just not. He's not in the class of Jordan and LeBron and Tim Duncan and Shaq, who you absolutely built championships around.
I will say this. I feel like you diminish Kobe's legacy. That's maybe our argument. But at this point, there's no point in continuing this because we just have different opinions on it.
Wow.
I mean, it's consistent to this day, right? Those just the players that you list. I mean, those are the guys.
No, I agree. That's the
guys.
That's what's pretty wild to me. Like 8 years later, it's the same argument that holds up. And again, like it's like you're saying, hey, look, he's a great player. He's not top 10.
No.
He's a top 15, top 20 player. He's not top 10. Now, on a lighter note, I found a couple Maria clips, which I have to play.
This is great.
As I went through this, which it's wild to think just how brash and reckless I was saying things. If you take 2022 culture, and
to be honest, I think you should be canceled for your Kobe takes. But if that doesn't do it,
you can just tell Maria's voice, and these aren't anything crazy. These are real quick ones. So
Maria hated you. Honestly, Maria, I feel like Maria hated me just because I had a podcast with you, but she hated you.
I think in my entire life,
I am convinced that Maria had like multiple meetings with Sideshow Brass being like, I can't work with Andy Ruther.
Oh,
like,
I bet.
I don't like, I think this man is a bad man.
So for some background for people who don't know or newer listeners, we were at a now defunct podcast network called Sideshow Network, and we would go into their studio, and she was handling the audio.
Yeah, she was our engineer / producer.
Yeah, No, let's not do producer. She was our audio engineer.
Sure.
So she was also mic'd up.
Yeah.
And I grew up just a giant Howard Stern fan, like my whole life, listened to him on the radio. And I kind of wanted to use her in that way where occasionally we'd come to her, we'd play off her, or I'd mess with her. And she hated me. I do think no one's disliked me more in my entire life than her.
And she had to come to work every day.
Yeah.
She had to come to work once a week knowing it's Andy Ruther Day.
Twice a week.
Yeah.
She had to see me. And we didn't always have her as our audio engineer, but we had her most of the time. So this is one I've just titled Maria, and I think you can tell it in her voice. I believe this is with Sam Tripoli on, and you're calling from New York because you're out of town. Or no, maybe that's a different one. Okay, I'm just going to play this.
Brando, this show, I love this show is going to be nothing about sports. We're just going to be talking. It's all been about sex and banging chicks.
Well, that's good. Who's in the studio? Is Maria there today?
Yeah, Maria's here.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm here.
Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Joe.
I'm glad on these all sex shows that have been going on while I've been gone. It's been you. You know, that's what we want.
Well, Brando, let's get to some sports. Let's talk about your New York Giants. Are you
Yeah, I mean, you can just tell.
Yeah.
You can
I'm
just
already
tell.
apologizing. I'm like, oh, we're doing an all sex show. Are you ruining Maria's life? She's like, yes, I'm here. Please help.
So this one's titled Maria Glory Hole.
No, poor Maria.
Yeah.
Maria?
I got it.
Maria's our resident glory hole expert. That's her new title.
I think you can get Yelps for glory holes if you Google that shit.
I said Maria is our new glory hole expert. That's her new title. Dude, young Andy Ruther was wild. And that's just like a little tidbit of the abuse I gave her.
I feel like even her chuckle at that was like before her hate to realize that, because by the end she was stoned. She was just like, don't talk to me. I'm just trying to come in, hit record, not get sexually assaulted. Verbal sexual assault.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, it's half the breaks there at that. Maria wasn't exactly my cup of tea. I mean, nor would
on the
I
other
do
side
that.
on the other side of a glory hole, maybe. Glory hole expert.
I mean, think about
Sam
it.
Tripoli's somewhere hearing this. He'd be like, "It's a great episode." I don't know the problem. That's the problem with cancel culture these days. And Fauci, fucking Fauci. You're like, what are you talking about?
By the way, I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those, like, I'm not regretting what I'm saying. I'm young and dumb. Like,
you're regretting who you were. It's sort of the same. It's sort of the same thing with the Kobe Bryant thing.
yeah, it's like I'm not a fan of like I'm not apologizing for saying these wild things. It's just
You're
like,
not apologizing for your Kobe Bryant takes. I think I might go on strike, and I might not talk on this episode until you apologize.
I'll apologize for that. I will apologize for that. I mean, the voice tone and me stumbling on my words and not trying to give up the argument. Oh, it's so sad. But it did lay the groundwork for some heated debates that we've had. Although we haven't really had as many lately, but I feel like that laid the groundwork for.
But listen, NFL is around the corner.
Oh, yeah.
Russell Wilson's Broncos tenure will be here.
Let
before
Russ cook, baby.
We're gonna be 4 games into the season with the Broncos 1-3, and I'm just gonna come on the show and be like, should they sign Ryan Fitzpatrick right now? And you're just gonna lose your mind.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, and we talked about when guys lose certain players or how they are on their own. And I texted you this. I just listened to all 6 episodes on Andrew Luck's career and post-career and how it all unfolded. It's on
the Athletic.
The Athletic, and I just want to recommend it to people if they're curious. I think I crushed it this weekend. They're not long. They're anywhere from like 30 to 45 minutes an episode. It's a 6-part miniseries on The Athletic. I think it's just titled Luck, but it breaks down his career and how it went down. And I think we've forgotten because I think we're in such a good current wave of quarterbacks, right? With Mahomes, like the new wave with Mahomes and Burrow and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. It's like you got all these young guys. It's almost like we forget that Luck just retired in 2019 and he was 29. He's only 32. I mean, he realistically, if he said, hey, I want to play football again, could probably be a really good quarterback for 5 or 6 years. But one of my big takeaways when I was listening to this was that Adam Schefter got the tip that Luck was going to retire, and he leaked it out on a tweet. He couldn't let Luck wait 12 hours for a formal announcement. Most of the players in the Colts didn't know. Most of basically anybody, nobody in the NFL knew. The owner, Jim Irsay, knew. Ballard, who was the GM, knew. Not many people knew it. Jacoby Brissett knew. He's on this a lot as his backup. But it just, for me, it really makes me think that Schefter is kind of a garbage person for this. Like my take was that, and they go in specifics. Schefter was out. The irony, he was at his mother-in-law's 75th birthday celebration in New York. And he got a text message that said, hey, Andrew Luck is retiring tomorrow. And Schefter tweeted that out from the birthday party out at some restaurant. And it was during the Bears-Colts preseason game. And you forget how wild it was. It was so wild that fans started yelling to players, hey, is Luck retiring? Because Luck is on the sideline. And they even talked to players saying, like, what? We're literally like, these fans are on crack. What are you talking about retiring? He's standing right over there. And they had to do the impromptu press conference and all those things. It just, to me, it's sleazy. Like, I understand journalistic standards and you got to leak stuff sometimes, but like, I hated how that unfolded. But I don't know. It just makes me appreciate Luck even much more about he made his decision. He retired and he's just raising his family. And here's what's crazy. They were building a house 5 minutes from the Colts practice facility. That's where his family still lives. Yeah. He's just raising his family in Indianapolis.
It's crazy. And I remember it's crazy because I remember the playoffs of the last season he ended up playing. And I remember the beginning when he retired, because the thing is, we were speaking of like the heated arguments. We were deep in Russ top 5 at that time. And I remember saying Luck over Russ. And I remember being in, it was 2019 in January. I was working with Eddie Ift at the House of Comedy. And it might have even been on the same day or a Saturday and a Sunday. Luck beats the Houston Texans for his last playoff win. I think he loses to Kansas City.
He does
next week, but he beats the Texans. And that was when I was in Bill O'Brien hate mode too. But he goes like, I forget what the stats are, but he's like 80% on third down conversions, and every big third down, he's like passing for a thing. And then the Seahawks go on to lose, I believe, to the Cowboys in a game where Russ doesn't complete a third down, doesn't get a third down conversion via pass the whole game. And I was like, this is the difference. And then I remember going into 2019, Luck retires, and you're like, well, now Russ is definitely top 5. There's one less guy. And I'm like, well, that does hurt. It does hurt to take a guy who, in my opinion, is clearly better off the table. So yeah, it's, man, the end of, because the thing with Luck is he had come back from injury. I think he has that good playoff game. He loses a tough one to the Chiefs, obviously, that are starting their run.
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, they win the Super Bowl. That's the beginning of their little mini run. But also the
Colts were this close, man.
I'm saying the Colts then like work on improving their team, and Luck leaves. Like, I don't know how long. Like, did Luck and
so here's what happened. So basically,
did Luck and Nelson even have a crossover year?
Yeah, they did.
Have Quentin. He has a 1 year.
So interesting that you bring that up. So Luck did not play all of 2017.
Right.
He's just battling this shoulder injury. Frank Wright comes in. He plays in 2018. They rip off
they don't play he doesn't play 2017. That's why they have the third pick or whatever. They get Nelson.
They rip off 9 out of 10 wins after starting slowly in 2018. They finished 10-6. Luck has a great year. A lot of people said, if Mahomes doesn't have the year he has, there's probably a good chance Luck wins that MVP. So Luck rips off that great year. That's the least amount he had ever been sacked. He was sacked the least of any player in all of the NFL that year. They're like, finally, but they waited too long. That was 2018. He'd been in the league since 2012, and they just said all the different hits. And they go through all his injuries, stuff that wasn't even reported. So he had a ruptured kidney that he played through one game.
It was really bad. His kidney was ruptured.
He woke up, had no clue in the middle of the night, and went to take a leak, and he's pissing blood.
Babe, I'm pissing blood. She's like, what's wrong with your voice? That's just how I talk.
So, his career, which you
doctor's like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? That's just how I talk, but also I'm pissing blood.
He's one of the toughest guys who's played. And here's what's crazy, Joe. You talk about the transition, and he had no team around him. This is what the Colts did. They go Peyton Manning. Peyton gets hurt. They lose their first 13 games. They finish 2-14. Luck comes right in. They say with no roster, you're the number one pick. He goes 11-5 his first year for 3 straight years. That. The point that,
by the way, that's also a huge that speaks to the greatness of Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck.
I agree.
It's always Peyton Manning. What did Peyton Manning do versus Tom Brady? He came in with no roster. Oh, the roster that Peyton Manning just regularly took deep in the playoffs.
Yeah. So I mean, it's scary thinking where he could have been or his career. And I have to say, as a Cincinnati guy, and I know we've talked about this, I hope for a fan of football and a fan of Joe Burrow, because he's obviously a great quarterback, I just hope the moves the Bengals make or the things that they've tried, and they're clearly trying, and I'll give them credit for that, work, because I don't want to see a second Andrew Luck and Joe Burrow this year. I don't want him to get hit. And they go through it in the podcast, the amount of hits he took. And it just took its toll, because it wasn't just one injury. And that's what they say. It's not I forget which former player. It's a great analogy. He said, it's not like a Friday Night Lights thing where one hit and you're done. It's just hit after hit after hit. And some of it for sure was on Luck, because he didn't know how to slide, and he loved contact.
Yeah, he didn't know how to slide, but also, and again, testament to the Archie man. This is I think this is the Archie Manning legacy more than anything, is him teaching those guys how not to get hurt, how to get rid of the ball, live to fight another day. You don't have to step into the pocket and take one in the jaw.
You can take a sack at times.
Yeah, the most important thing is staying on the field. All those teams with Peyton Manning, the roster. Yeah, they had good offensive lines at times with Peyton Manning, but how much were those offensive lines elevated by a guy who's getting the ball out quickly, never taking hits, doing all that stuff. It's just. And that, by the way, which, if you remember, and this is where the Jacoby Brishkoli argument was centered, when Andrew Luck retired.
They start 5-2 under Jacoby Brishkoli.
Right. But I said
7-9.
Right. And I said immediately upon Andrew Luck's retirement, I don't know if the tweets are still out there, because I purge myself every once in a while, but I was like, trade for Eli Manning today. And everybody's like, wash. And I was like, no. Trade for him today. Get the guy in there behind an improved offensive line to do essentially what Peyton Manning did when he goes to the Broncos, which is end of your run.
And they had a defense too.
Yeah, they had a defense. They had a running game. They had an improved offensive line. Instead, they were like, oh, we'll just hand it off to a backup, and then we'll try Phillip Rivers, and then we'll try Matt Ryan, and then we'll try. And it's just and I was just like, Brishkoli? This is what we're doing? Brishkoli?
Yeah. Well, Briscoli, again, is one of the main featured guys in the podcast because I guess they became boys.
Cleveland Browns starting quarterback, Jacoby Briscoli.
That's right.
Or
Well,
is he?
Well, Deshaun Watson, I shouldn't say Deshaun Watson. I should say the Houston Texans on Friday, it was announced they settled with 30 women who also claimed the Texans played a role in all the sexual assaults, discretions, whatever it was. So the Texans have settled with all 30 women.
Which really doesn't, I don't think, change anything in terms of Deshaun Watson criminally, his own settlements, whatever. Obviously, those women say, they facilitate it, they sanction it, they whatever. Yeah. And so I'm sure many of the complaints, many of the civil suits, criminal suits, whatever, name the Texans as part of it. And they were just like, hey, we're just going to take care of this all at once. We're going to pay off all these women. These women can also then accept money from us and still have their case against their perpetrator himself, Deshaun Watson. But it is, all of it happening at once. Like the fact that those women are willing to do that, the fact that they're doing it as essentially as a group. I don't know. It gives me the feeling that Deshaun Watson, that, the loose ends are being starting to be tied up. I still say 8.5 games, but now there's rumors. Oh, it's 4 games. It's 5 games. It's whatever.
By the way, I love the statement that the team released. I have to read this statement. This is from the Texans. We were shocked and deeply saddened when we first learned of the allegations against our then franchise quarterback in March 2021. Yeah. First of all, bullshit. And this one's even more bullshit. Although our organization did not have any knowledge of Deshaun Watson's alleged misconduct, we have intentionally chosen to resolve this matter amicably. This is not an admission of any wrongdoing, but instead a clear stand against any form of sexual assault and misconduct. We hope that today's resolution will provide some form of closure to the parties involved, our fans, and the Houston community at large. As an organization, we will now turn our focus to the future and doing what we can to ensure respect for all.
I feel like all that statement was missing was just like, also in the history of horrific things that we've done, if you're going to focus on anything, focus on how long we kept Bill O'Brien as our head coach and not this, because there are other atrocities. We have been a part of other atrocities.
This statement is the same thing that Jerry Jones was doing with his hidden child, that he paid all this money, where we're not going to admit this is my daughter.
We're just going to admit this is a random child that I give millions of dollars every year.
Dude, it's when you have fuck you money, and obviously NFL
anybody who owns an NFL team does. Yeah.
Like you can do anything. Like it's wild what you like. Yeah. Okay. We didn't know. Here, take some money.
Yeah. Dan Snyder's like, I'm not saying I don't want to testify. I'm just saying I'm living on a boat only in international waters for an entire summer. And a helicopter brings me my food. I Uber Eats with a helicopter. I put my chef and the rest of my restaurant staff on a dinghy, and they go to shore every day and get ingredients to come cook me my food. So I don't have to be in any nation state in the world for the
this is wild,
I'm not saying I don't want to talk. I'm just saying this is what I choose to do with my summers. Be a totally marine-based human being.
I mean, it's Maria. Oh my God, she's calling, Joe. Showed up as Maria.
It's hilarious.
You remember that picture? I'm not going to name names. You know who you are. Remember that picture? Yeah. Hall of Fame DirtBall drew of Maria.
Hall of Fame crayon picture. Colored pencils at the absolute best. Let me just break out my colored pencil pouch.
Why would he draw a picture of Maria giving us both hand jobs? Dude, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to go back and listen to some more. Dude, Dirty Sports back in the day was wild.
We should just have cringe moments from the vault.
I'll enjoy that. I feel like both of our voices have deepened too.
Yeah. Just the world of sports just beating us down. Just out here, my voice is getting deeper every time, going down an octave every time I have to. It cracks as I scream about LeBron James not getting just do.
My girlfriend was like around when I was listening to it. She's like, dude, what is wrong with you? Why are you? Yeah. Welcome to the Dirty Sports. How's Andy? Why? She's like, why are you speaking so quickly?
You're like, I didn't always lay in water. And once I started to, it really calmed me down.
Dude, I haven't done a sensory deprivation in over a year. It's not like it's down the street like it used to be. Lay in water.
I gotta find some puddles here in Cincinnati.
Oh, there's a lot. It's been raining a lot here. I could probably find a bunch of them. Well, we do have another dirty sports related item from the past. Former Aaron Hernandez Savage of the Year award winner, Richie Incognito.
Oh, wow.
Has officially retired.
Again.
He made 4 Pro Bowls, man. He was actually really good.
Yeah, really good. He also tried to remove his dad's head with the samurai. I forget the story.
So the story is,
showed up at the samurai store, wanted
his father passed away, and he showed up at the Arizona where he passed. He showed up in Arizona at the funeral home.
At the funeral home,
I believe, and tried to decapitate his father's head. This is a true story. You guys can look it up. And then he also tried to, I believe, fight his grandmother, also in Arizona.
Right.
And
he just went full Kill Bill.
Oh, yeah. And then he was re-signed.
Yeah.
Gruden liked him. He was a grinder, man.
Yeah, he's a grinder.
And he actually was very productive for the Raiders. Dude,
and then when was he in Buffalo last?
No, he's retiring as a Raider.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then you almost forget that he bullied teammate Jonathan Martin down on the fence.
That was what got him out in the first place, right?
Yeah.
That's what got him released by the Dolphins.
Him and Pouncey. It was like a duo bullying. And let's not forget Aaron. Shout out to former intern Aaron, who's getting married here in a couple months.
Twerks with Wolves
Gave me a Richie Incognito.
That's right.
Dolphins jersey, which I still have.
Yeah. It should get framed to go on the wall.
I was thinking that.
Dirty Sports Hall of Fame.
I'm thinking some of those jerseys should be framed. I do wonder what people would think as I move into my new house. They see
you start a man cave, and it's just an old Raiders punter, Richie Incognito, a Richard Sherman neon jersey.
Oh, I sent that to CT.
Oh, okay. Oh, he replaced it with a Russ one, right?
Yeah, OJ.
Oh man, you got to frame all these. These all got to go in it could be called the Bad Man Cave.
I got a Adam Morrison one.
Yes, legendary. You need to put all these up. These to be in the hall. It's like the Hall of Shame down in Andy Ruther's new basement. Frame the picture of us getting hand jobs from Maria.
Dude, I think I still have that. Was that sent to me?
Just print out the transcript of your Kobe Bryant takes, put them on the wall. Like an oral history.
I have received carte blanche to do what I want with the basement.
Yes.
So basically
the man cave of shame.
The rest of the house, my lady, she was like, you can do what you want with it. She's like, I'll give you the basement. I
feel like most people too, like I know, we are huge sports fans, and everybody who listens to the show is probably a big sports fan. But I feel like I meet dudes these days, and it's always like their lack of sports knowledge is always like so shocking to me sometimes when people just like don't know anything. I feel like you could get like just like random, like, you guys make a random new couple friend and the guy comes down and he's like, cool jerseys. And you're like, everybody here has murdered somebody or tried to murder somebody with the samurai sword. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, Adam Morrison. Oh, yeah, he's cool. He didn't try to remember it, but he just got real sunburnt one year.
Yeah. You're like, not yet. He hasn't tried to murder somebody yet. He's like MK Ultra. The 15 millionth mention of him being one of the biggest busts in NBA history is just going to snap and lock in.
What Final Four? Was that a recent Final Four? He was so sunburned. I don't know why it's so funny to me. The thought of an adult just being like, nah, I'm not putting on sunscreen when you know you're in the sun that's one of the most reckless things.
I did it the other day. I mean, I don't get burnt like that.
You're
like,
not, yeah.
I did. I went surfing the other day and forgot to put sunscreen on my face, and then came home. I was like, man, who's still getting a little sunburned?
So we went to Mexico for spring break. My senior year, we went to Mazatlan. I'm with like 17 other guys from my fraternity and another fraternity we were friends with. Anyway, my old roommate, he was like that really pasty pale type of guy. Grew up on a farm in the middle of Illinois. Anyway, he gets so sunburned and like continues to not do anything on, we're in fucking Mexico. And that whole week, all he did was get sunburnt and I've never seen someone snort so much cocaine. And you know what he kept doing? He was so coked out, we would get him to just hit his head on shit. And one of the most vivid memories I have from that trip is we're flying back from Mexico to St. Louis. And he hit on one of those stupid like hats that say like Corona around it, like a straw hat. And I'm looking at him he's in the other aisle across from me. I see him take off his hat, his whole face, and he was like bald, like he shaved his head, is sunburned. And he's got, dude, it was like a scene out of a Looney Tunes cartoon. You hit their head and the thing goes up. And
horn.
I just see him rubbing his head and he's sunburned again. He's just been doing blow all week. And I'm just laughing, thinking like, dude, what a regrettable trip you had.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. All right. Well, the home run derby is tonight. We're at the All-Star break, which is crazy. I feel like this baseball season has gone so quickly.
Yeah. Well, we had a shortened. It's a week. Remember, we were a couple weeks in. We had
true.
Work stoppage, but yeah, All-Star game here in Los Angeles. Home run derby tonight. Game tomorrow. Yeah. All right. Do you want my prediction for the home run derby?
Yeah. So let me just go over the contestants real quick. So we have Kyle Schwarber as a 1 seed. You have your 8 seed Albert Pujols, 2 seed, the back-to-back champ, ya boy, Pete Alonso, 3 seed Corey Seager, 4 seed Juan Soto, 5 seed Jose Ramirez, 6 seed Julio Rodriguez, and your 7 seed is Ronald Acuna Jr.
I think Schwarber is going to put up a good first round. I think Schwarber is going to be a classic, like hit a ton in the first round, but not be able to be consistent throughout. I'm going with one of the Mets. I'm going with the 2 Mets in the finals, and I'm going to take Pete Alonso to beat Met teammate Juan Soto for the belt.
Wow. You think he's going to win 3 in a row?
I do. And I think, but I think he's going to be challenged by soon-to-be teammate and probably greatest left-handed hitter on planet Earth today, Juan Soto.
You think he's going to come?
Who turned down $440 million, which is crazy. But it just seems to me he doesn't want to be in DC. Washington, which is, who wants to play in front of holograms their whole life? Like get real human fans. And do I think he's going to be a Met? I don't know, but it's, the Juan Soto trade situation is going to be like a Kevin Durant-y type of situation. It's like they offered him $440 million. They obviously want him, but there's probably a line drawn in the sand here. It's like, how much can you offer this guy? So now the rumors are they are open to trading him. I think there's only going to be so many teams that are willing to trade for him, because I think they're just going to demand the world in prospects and young players. And what teams are going to want to do that and potentially jeopardize their future. And I think the only teams that would consider doing it are teams that can reload, not via their farm system, but obviously via, spending money. So Mets, Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox, teams that have never been afraid to shell out money just to reload.
Well, those are the same teams, at least the Mets, Dodgers, Yankees, that want my boy on the Reds, Luis Castillo.
Yeah.
Who's pitching lights out right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the, I mean, it's contenders that, don't have to be. And here's what I'll say, not about Castillo, but about Juan Soto. I think Juan Soto is young enough and good enough that it is a Kevin Durant type of situation. Now, obviously one player can't change your franchise, but if you're a contender, Juan Soto can make you a champion. I would mortgage entire farm systems to get that guy. I mean, as the Mets have the top minor league prospect in baseball right now in catcher Alvarez. But if I'm a Mets fan, and I'm saying anybody but him, trade the entire farm system, shut down minor league baseball play the rest of the year because you have given the Nationals all of your players except for Alvarez. But at the same time, I'm like, listen, if Alvarez has got to go, Alvarez has got to go. I think you give up everybody that you have to for Juan Soto.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see which teams do that or are willing to do that or are getting the conversation to do it.
Well, like you said, she's going to be teams with the money.
Literally send them to any team but the Angels. We can't have all the best players in baseball on Angels teams that can't make the playoffs. Yeah. I saw the best tweet the other day. It was like, every stat you hear, I'm gonna paraphrase, but it was like every stat you hear from the Angels game is like Mike Trout just hit his 51st homer before the All-Star break, and Shohei Ohtani has done some statistical thing that hasn't been done since 1894. Angels lose 11-4 to the Tigers.
Yeah, it is crazy how shitty they are year after year.
Yeah.
So we have a call about two of the surprise teams at the All-Star break.
Love it.
Gentlemen, CT from Ladone, Seattle, Life on Seattle, Dragon Man. Calling in. Hey, there are two blazing hot teams in baseball right now. Baltimore Orioles and my beloved Seattle Mariners. I would just like to know if any of you like these two teams to end up making the playoffs. Currently, Seattle's in tie for a wild card spot. And if so, who do you like going further? Man, I'm loving this Mariners team. They're so much fun. Julio has been such and a breath of fresh air as a Mariners fan. So Andy's participating in the Home Run Derby. Love that guy. Called at the beginning of the season Julio Rookie of the Year. Of course, I'm leaning Mariners, but I'm very, very biased, and I don't get to watch a lot of Baltimore out on the West Coast. But I just want to know your thoughts on two of the hottest teams in baseball. CT out. Go M's.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. First of all, I agree that if one of those teams is going to make the playoffs, it'll be the Mariners. And I think only one of those teams will make the playoffs, and it'll be the Mariners. I don't know if anybody knows or remembers from this show and or Dirty Slides, but I low-key called a potential Mariners division. I was quick to say, I think this is the end of the Astros run. Obviously wrong about that. The Astros are playing fantastic. The Astros are the blueprint for how to run a baseball organization in 2022. It's like the fact that guys can leave and that they can just replace them with the opposite of what the Mets, Dodgers, Yankees approach to getting Juan Soto would be. They're like, why? We don't need to get Juan Soto. We have Juan Soto in the minor leagues. Every single guy we draft is amazing. And every single the next guy we're going to bring up is better than the last guy. So shout out to the Astros. They let guys leave and they never look back for 1 second. So they're still 9 games up on Seattle, but yeah, Seattle is in the mix for a wild card spot. I think Seattle will get one because for the same reason that I think Baltimore will not make the playoffs, which is Baltimore is still in dead last place in the AL East. All this whole run, they've finally gotten themselves back to 500, but they're in dead last place, and the AL East will beat itself up. So I see Seattle getting in with an AL East team. It's currently Tampa Bay ahead of them, but whether it be Tampa Bay, Toronto, Boston, those teams are all going to be in the mix. I say Seattle is in, and an AL East team is in the wild card spot, and it's just going to be too tough for multiple AL East teams to get in, for Baltimore to get in. But that doesn't change that this is a great situation for Baltimore to be in. They were so bad last year. They just drafted first overall pick, and they're in the midst of going on a run. They've gotten themselves back to 500. It's like the Orioles have been bad for the last, few years, since they had a little playoff run during their Buck Showalter days. And Baltimore's a fun team in a great stadium, great uniforms, some historic players. I like it when the Orioles are good. For a long time, the Orioles were my AL team. I guess kind of technically still sort of my AL team. So it's good when Baltimore's good, and for them to have a good season or put together, even just a 500 year, whilst also having the first overall pick. And I believe it was Matt Holliday's kid who was the first overall pick yesterday. It's nice for them to have a halfway decent team and a future ahead of them.
Yeah.
So I like what both of these teams are doing, but yeah, I was maybe a little bit quick on the Houston Astros demise, but I saw a rise of the Mariners prior to the year, and I love that it's coming true, because to start the year, I was like, ooh, well, guess I really shit the bed with that pick.
Well, they had the trade for Winker and Eugenio Suarez, which they both started out real slow, and they're starting to play a lot better. And that's going to help them a lot if those guys continue to.
By the way, I found the tweet, Andy. Every time I see an Angels highlight, it's like Mike Trout hit 3 home runs and raised his average to 528, while Shohei Ohtani did something that hasn't been done since Tungsten Arm O'Doyle of the 1921 Akron Groomsmen, as the Tigers defeated the Angels 8-3.
Yeah, man. It's just sad. They've always been, for the most part, a pretty sad state.
Yeah.
Just the location, the stadium, everything's just weird about it.
And I went to an Anaheim Mets game, and they've kind of changed the vibe there. I like it. They're obviously inland, but they've embraced this like heavy SoCal, like everything's beachy centered, all the stuff on the boards. They have a great new huge video board out in right field. They have a good young team, but it just seems like they can never figure out how to sustain it. I mean, even this year, they started out hot. They were one of the best teams in baseball early on, and then just a huge losing streak.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this episode has been a nice little trip down memory lane, and we'll continue that with our first call about an old Dirty Sports episode.
Can you hear the guy blowing leaves behind me, by the way?
No.
Okay, great. I was like, I can shut the window. This guy outside blowing leaves.
I just heard a beeping.
I don't know what that is.
Okay. I don't know. All right. So let's get to some DirtBall calls. 310-359-8365.
Hey, Joe and Andy. This is Ben from Ithaca, New York. First time, long time. I wanted to know kind of how that whole Michael Rappaport, G Moody collab podcast came about. And just if you guys still kind of fucks with Michael Rappaport, because I really don't. I kind of think he's a huge cheddar dick now, and I really just liked it for G Moody. So yeah, I was just curious if you guys had any stories or how that all went down. condoms are for the New York Yankees.
Yeah.
So that would have been, we did that episode like May, I got a pretty good memory, May 2015. So I had connected with, I think it was through Twitter. Somebody had requested us teaming up, and then his producer, he's got a couple producers, Jordan Winter, him and I became friends, and we exchanged messages and then cell phone, and we hung out a few times. And that's how the I Am Rappaport podcast and us we did a live one at the Hollywood Improv Lab.
And that was where we met Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Remember, Jesus is in the right, and he was like, he hated us.
Yeah. Well, like, I'll be honest, I don't really follow too closely like rap. Like, my thing is like and I've told you this, like when it's nonstop political, I get tuned out, like, because like I'm to the point where like no one's opinion's changing. I don't really care that much about people's rants about politics.
I don't know what Rappaport, and I know there was a Rappaport, G Moody, there was a separation, there's a beef.
Fell out.
They fell out. I don't know whatever came of that, if they're friends or still don't do a podcast together or whatever. I fucks with Rappaport still. I don't listen to his podcast, not for any reason other than I don't really listen to any podcasts anymore. I used to check in with him every once in a while when I would see him post about a topic that I was like, oh, I'd like to hear a Rap's take on that. But then for a while, it was like it was behind some paywall here and it was behind some paywall there. It was at Barstool, which, I'm not big on tuning into their shit. So it was just as simply as like, it became harder for me to find in those moments when I really don't listen to podcasts much at all in general. But I still fucks with him as a dude. Rappaport will never not make me laugh because he's just so absurd.
No,
and
for sure. Yeah.
I've met him many times since we did the podcast together, doing stand-up, doing whatever. He's always been super chill to me, super cool. I know he's got super political, but honestly, my one and only issue with Michael Rappaport is his LeBron hate. Other than that, we literally have nothing. Like, I think he's on the right.
Which we learned from our podcast with him. That was more of a political, or not a political, a personal thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Hates LeBron, will always shit on LeBron. That's my one and only beef with Rappaport. I think he's on the wrong side of history there. I think he's on the right side of he might not go about it the right way, but I think he's on the right side of history when it comes to politics. I know that turns a lot of people off, but I think, his heart's in the right place when it comes to that stuff. And I fucks with Rap.
I just like people, the Trump shit. I just like, that's where I just like, people get the mute button for me if I'm unfollowing or just unfollow, like on either side. Like, I mean, we just like, I don't know. It's so funny. Like I am to the point of just completely just not caring. And I just want to be on social media to read some news, laugh, figure out some things, but no, but at the end of the day, I agree. I think he's a funny guy. I think he's talented. But that was a fun episode.
Yeah. I just remember G Moody being offended at the idea that I called Odell Black Jesus. He's like, you call him what? Who?
And then John Morant called himself Black Jesus recently.
Did he?
You didn't see that?
No. Is that true? Because there was a lot of things that were coming out for a while that were like,
no. There's a video. You didn't see it?
No.
He's at this restaurant. I think it's even in Memphis. And he tips this waitress $1,000. And she comes back and somebody's filming. And she's like looking at the tip, that he wrote when he signed. She's like, who are you? And he said, Black Jesus, joking.
Love it.
And then she's like, do you play something? And he's like, yeah, I play basketball. She's like, for the Grizzlies? And he's like, yeah. which is so funny to me.
It's amazing that she would know to ask about basketball, and she knows that. Imagine knowing the name of the team in Memphis and not knowing who Ja Morant is.
I could be wrong how that played out.
You're a bull.
I think that's how it played out, but she definitely didn't know who he was. It's you should watch it. It's on Twitter. It's a pretty good video. It's like that's the type of content I'm there for, like fun content. Like, oh, he's tipping her $1,000. He calls himself Black Jesus. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this is a call about golf and the LIV tour.
Andy Ruther, Joey No Chill Prano. This is Vance calling from Dallas, Texas. You might remember me as the chocolate chip pancake guy, the chef guy. Anyways, I still stand on the chocolate chip pancake, and not to draw it out any further because it's been done and dead for a while. But the chili on spaghetti, we don't talk about it anymore. Anyways, relaying back to what Joe was saying about getting good at golf. That shit is fucking hard. So I have played 17 rounds of golf now. I finally broke 100 thanks to my roommate who's been pushing me. He's a scratch golfer. And, dude, the LIV tour, if you're trying to make some fucking dough, fucking do it. Just do it. Anyways, condos are for the fucking PGA guys. Fuck them. All right, later.
I'd be lying if I didn't say I enjoyed Rory McIlroy's collapse because of all his anti-LIV tour comments.
Well, I wasn't in it necessarily for I didn't watch the end of it. I went surfing yesterday, but I was watching it every morning when I woke up. I wasn't even there so much for the Rory collapse. As far as personalities go, and we talked about this, like the LIV tour having all the personalities, the one sole person that like does get me going is Cam Smith and his fucking mullet. I've always been a huge fan of the Australian people. I love the fucking dude's mullet. I was rooting for him the whole time. He's like one of the last remaining guys with any sort of personality, even if it's just a fucking haircut. So I was like him. And then Cam Young, I believe his name was the other guy who was in the mix. He's from right where I grew up, basically. I believe I heard them say his dad is like a pro at Sleepy Hollow Country Club, which is the first ever golf course, 18-hole golf course I ever played on. And so I was rooting for him, but like, yeah, it's just like Rory McIlroy to me seems like a dork. Seems like one of those people that like, again, for some reason they tried to like in the post Tiger era, in the era of Tiger being hurt or whatever, they were like, this is the guy. He's going to be the guy. We're all going to be the guy. And I just look at him. I'm like, nah, I don't care. I don't care. And yeah, his LIV tour, it's like, yeah, we're not even rooting for you to go over there. You're not interesting. You're not exciting. So yeah, I was rooting for a collapse too. And it was nice to see, but mostly because I was rooting for the other guys.
Well, at the end of the day, I don't understand why those guys even care. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Like to me, it's the equivalent of like getting so worked up about another show. Like, dude, okay, cool. You got a sports podcast at this place or that place. I like whatever. Like people are going to listen to what they want to listen to. Why? Again, I always say they care because they know things are changing.
Right. And there's the guys, again, it's like, it's almost become a thing now. It's like the guys who go over there, they take the money, they go over there. It's pretty obvious that like, there isn't a built legacy of the LIV tour. So, you know, if that's what you're concerned about, like being, you know, your legacy in golf, staying with the PGA, but those guys are like kind of open, saying it without saying it. It's like, I'll take the money. I'll be a part of something new. Let's go. And the guys who don't, like, if you don't want to, just don't, just keep playing golf and whatever. It's like, that's the thing about, you know, Cam Smith, who I've been rooting for since a couple of years ago when I saw him in the Masters rocking that fucking mullet. I was like, this guy, and then Australian, love him. But it's like, I haven't seen Maybe he's just not big enough for it to be publicized, but I haven't seen him railing against it. And it's like, when you do, it just seems like it seems insecure.
Yeah, for sure. All right. We'll get to another long-term dirt ball with a question about some past stuff.
What's going on, boys? Kyle Aronofsky calling once again from beautiful Toms River, New Jersey, home of the 1998 Little League World Series champions. Just departed for not so beautiful Newark Airport to pick up Jay Lloyd. Little dirt ball adventure weekend. Going to see Dead and Company. Going to see the Bouncing Souls. We need some of the best Italian food, pizza, breakfast sandwiches in the world. And we were just talking about the Bill Walton shirts, the legendary Bill Walton shirts. The real ones know the version that we got. What happened to the Dirty Sports merch? There's some shirts I could think of. Let's ramp that back up. I need some new attire, some updated stuff. You can't be wearing a Zeke Block shirt in 2022. It just don't make sense anymore. I don't know. That's it. Thumbs up for Newark Airport, and they will always be for Newark Airport.
I mean, it's pretty bare bones. I'm looking at it now. Yeah. I mean, we haven't mentioned Thus the Process in a while. We got the Yo Fool, the Bill Walton Pyramid of Success, your Dirty Slide shirt. I don't know. Do we want to do the? Is Jameis their starting quarterback?
Yes, he is. I intercepted the shirt from Jameis Winston.
Do we bring back an old classic?
I love that. Well, I mean, I guess that's the question. Is like, listen, if let's say we have interest in merch, right? Which I don't know if we do. You know, we're on Twitter and Instagram at The Dirty Sports. Are you just a general query? Are you interested in Dirty Sports merch? Yay or nay? If we get an overwhelming yay, maybe the question is, then what does that look like? Where do we start? You know, maybe this is a crowdsourcing situation. Like if we were to put out one piece of Dirty Sports merch in the near future, what does that look like? You know, what does a Dirty Sports t-shirt say? I still stand by that. I think we need a classic baseball hat with an interlocking DS. But I don't know a hat guy off the top of my head. I don't know where our merch guys are at with that. But let's say is there interest in Dirty Sports merch? And then maybe the step 2 is like, what does that look like in 2022?
You know, I got to call my guy anyway. I'm writing this down. This is a good reminder. Because I had a question for him as well. So, yeah, that I don't know. I don't know what it would be at this point. Don't be a cuck. That's all the shirt says.
I'm a reformed Kobe Bryant lover.
Shirt that just says Kobe Bryant is not top 10 all time. People would be so triggered by that. So triggered. Friends don't let friends wear jerseys of players who aren't playing in the game you're attending. That seems like a good one.
There's like an old Dirty Sports title.
I know. By the way, that's something wild as well.
Old Dirty Sports titles.
We're gonna do a game. I already wrote this down as an idea. We're gonna do a game where I'm gonna ask you to be a quick, fun game.
Real or fake Dirty Sports titles?
Yeah, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read a title, and you're gonna have to guess. Was this a real or fake Dirty Sports title? Dude, we had some wild titles back in the day. Like cancel. I mean,
Shabelli should probably call him for that episode. Does Shabelli know?
Like we have titles. I feel like we could be thrown with libel. I think there's something like JJ Watt touches kids or something. Like like we like stuff. We have like
JJ Watt probably does touch kids. It's not like he has children. I'm sure he touches them. Like, you know, I think we could argue in a court of law. Technically, he does touch kids.
Yeah. I mean, just listen to some of that episode again with Tripoli, bro. Like And I wasn't there to pull the reins in. Like, you're in New York, I'm in LA with Sam Tripoli, and it's just.
Where's Trip these days, by the way? Speaking of, we were talking about Rappaport. Like, I have no idea where or what Sam Tripoli's up to. Like, I feel like he
has a lot of podcasts. It's when he said, I actually, after hearing that, I went to his website.
Because I remember he was on Twitter, then he was not on Twitter, and then he was on Twitter as a dragon for a while, and then he was off Twitter. He kept getting banned.
As a dragon.
Yeah, he was like Dragon Boy podcast or something like that.
I'm gonna put it in.
He was shadow banned. He was like he was the original shadow banned on Twitter, by the way.
He is. He's at Fat Dragon Pro on Twitter.
So I'm talking about.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I feel like he's got a lot of podcasts going on. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
He has 7 podcasts. Sam Tripoli has 7 podcasts. He does different podcasts every day.
I'm on his website and he has channels. I assume these are all podcasts.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, I'm not trying to diss the guy. A lot of them, like Punch Drunk, is barely going right now. It's been barely going. So I don't know how frequent some of those are. And I think some of them are. And he's got some, I know he's got some real popular ones. I mean, he's definitely in a different world. Is he still in LA?
I have no idea. I assume. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got 7 podcasts. Doesn't that make you feel worthless, Joe Prano?
Yeah.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
That's libel right there.
I'm kidding. He's clean. He's clean. Allegedly. Okay. That's the hotline, or the hotline is 310-359-8365. Give us a call. Ask a question. Share a story. Make it fun. Make it entertaining. You can follow us, like Joe said. Give us merch ideas at The Dirty Sports on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram, even though I haven't posted it in over a year, at Andy Ruther.
I'm at Joe Prano on all social media except for Twitter, where I remain at Fix Your Life. You can follow me on all those places. You can check out joeprano.com for upcoming shows. I'll get this one out nice and early. I am doing a night at the Hollywood Improv Lab on August 25th. It's my night. I'll be putting the whole show together. Who all's on it? I'll be closing the show and doing some significant amount of time. So if you're in the Los Angeles area, get your tickets now for that. August 25th at the Hollywood Improv Lab. If you are planning on visiting Southern California, make that when you plan to visit. Come to that show. If you know somebody who's in Southern California and you're listening to this elsewhere, send them a text message and tell them to come to that show. August 25th at the Hollywood Improv Lab. I am still on Cameo. If anybody wants a birthday shout out.
Cool. All right, guys. That is our episode. Thank you as always. We always are grateful for all the support. Fun going down memory lane. Have a great week. And don't forget, stay dirty.